love Bond films. There's just something that's so fun and comforting about seeing movies that you know are gonna have crazy end-of-the-world plots with big action scenes, evil villains, and... wait, not those movies. I'm talking about the ones with charismatic spy. You know, the one who keeps getting face transplants to hide their identity, but then ruins the secret by always introducing themselves as
Bond.
James Bond.
Hey, assholes! I'm right over here! A mini-me! Come and get me!
yeah, those movies. Whether you're a new viewer or a lifetime fan of Bond films, there's always those iconic Bond moments that you look forward to every time you watch, because you know every Bond movie will have it, and if it doesn't, it's not a Bond film. And obviously, that's why I love watching these movies as well. Every time I watch a new Bond film, I can't help but compare the various Bonds in the films themselves, and analyze why one version may have worked better than another. And naturally, I end up ranking all the Bonds in their movies because of this, but that just adds to why I love watching them. But there's a problem. I've only watched 6 Bond films.
What?
I know that Bond films are meant to be ridiculous and not the deepest movie out there, but dog, some of them just ain't bussin'. For example, my favorite Bond is Pierce Brosnan. He's charming, seems like a competent and smart spy, and all the movies I've watched with him in it are pretty entertaining. Now you'll notice that the only other 2 Bonds I've watched are Sean Connery and Daniel Craig, and I kinda feel like y'all can already understand why I chose those. Obviously, I have to watch the Bond that set the tone for every other Bond. And of course, I have to watch the Bond that everyone was currently talking about, so my choices were set. But then I watched them, and I just don't vibe with them. By that, I mean I feel like they don't act like what I expect a spy to act like, or at the very least, what a Bond spy would act like. When I think of 007, I think of someone who doesn't raise any flags in average social settings, but is still highly intelligent and capable of fighting and solving puzzles. Basically, he should be a power fantasy.
Listen, you're a super spy. A super spy!
And unfortunately, I felt like Connery and Craig fell short of one of those aspects, whereas Brosnan got them both. Like sure, Sean Connery's Bond is very charismatic and obviously blends in well with social situations, but his Bond was written like a monkey. So no matter how charming he may have been, every time he did something that confused me, I was taken out of the moment. Take this scene for example, Bond trying to stop a ticking time bomb. Obviously, I don't know much about explosives, but I'm pretty sure you don't pull out all the wires to stop it from detonating. Do you know what happens to me when I cut the wrong wire in a video game bomb? And you wanna know what happens when I keep getting it wrong? So you can understand why I was confused and anxious when Mr. Bond nearly pulled out a chunk of random wires. And that's not even the worst part. You wanna know how they deactivated the device? An explosive expert literally just walked in and flipped a switch to stop the bomb that our hero was literally looking at for a good minute. Even this man was looking at Bond like, what the fuck you doing, you monkey? On the other hand, Daniel Craig's Bond is the complete opposite. His character is pretty smart and capable most of the time, but he looks too much like a killer. I get that his Bond is supposed to be more serious and complex than previous Bonds, but I think he's a little too serious. From the way he walks to the way he speaks to others, this Bond felt very cold and way too focused on his mission. And you might be thinking, well yeah, isn't that what a spy should act like when they're on a mission? Aren't they supposed to be emotionless and effective for their mission? And yeah, you're right. That is how I expect them to act when they're on a secret mission and acting in the shadows. But not when they're around normal people. I feel like anytime this Bond is in a crowd, he's the most sus person ever. Like dog, you're telling me that you're surprised that the person you're tailing figured out that you're a spy? After all that staring? I don't know what MI6 is teaching all these spies, but they sure as hell ain't teaching them basic manners. Imagine if he was in the ghetto. It would be hands on sight.
Yo, what you looking at? Me? Oh, nothing.
Oh, you calling my girl nothing? I saw the way you was looking at her.
What way? There was a way? No, there's no way. I was just looking.
Oh wait, so you admit you was looking at me. Alright, I'm gonna show you something to look at.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure he barely smiles. I don't know if Craig just looks like that because he hates these movies, or because that's how his Bond was written to be like, but that is the most serial killer thing to do. Even before I started watching true crime, I knew that if a person was ignoring everyone around them but was staring at me with a very serious face, my immediate thought would be,
I'm in danger!
now imagine if I was a criminal who knew people were after me. I'd immediately accuse the fool with the staring issue of venting, and I'm pretty sure he would easily get ejected round 1 because of how sus his face is. So yes, my disappointment was immeasurable and my day was ruined. And after having 2 out of 3 Bonds disappoint me, I decided that the only way I would watch any other Bond movie was if they nailed the gun barrel sequence.
Ah! What the
Wait, you're a gun? I always thought you were like an eyeball or something. Douche.
Given that Connery's sequence had already disappointed me, but Brosnan and Craig had good sequences, I figured that the incoherent or problematic writing in these older movies could at least be overlooked if the Bonds themselves were cool in action scenes. But then I watched them, and the older the movie got, the worse the sequences got too. I cannot tell you how funny it was to compare all the gun barrel sequences starting from Daniel Craig to Sean Connery, because the sequences go from Craig and Brosnan looking pretty cool and snappy with their shots, to Bonds like Roger Moore who are slow as hell, to others like George Lazenby being too extra, and then back to Connery out here like, "Gotcha, bitch!" Obviously, as none of these shots managed to impress me, I have not watched any Bond films since then. But you might be wondering, how can I possibly claim to love Bond films if I haven't seen all of them? Well, my answer is the same as anyone else's. I love Bond films because I love comparing the films. And by that, I mean, even if I haven't watched the films, I can still compare signature Bond moments like the gun barrels or the iconic
Bond. James Bond.
or even the cinematography. Because even if those movies as a whole might not be a banger in my book, something like the theme songs might be so amazing that they stick with me. So even if I barely remember the plot of the film, I can still remember how genius it was for the Goldfinger intro to use a projector to insert opening credit scenes, and how the Skyfall opening used abstract imagery to foreshadow its plot. And that's why Bond films are always so fun no matter how many of them are made. The feeling of anticipation when watching a new film and wondering how an iconic moment might be reinvented adds to the experience when watching. And then, when the film finishes, you can't help but want to watch the older films to see what they did better or worse. So even if I don't watch the entire film of No Time to Die, I'll still search up clips to see its take on signature Bond moments. And once I'm done updating my tier list of best Bond moments, I'll wait patiently like everyone else for a new Bond film. But for now, Pierce Brosnan is the best Bond ever. Fight me. Thank you all for watching until the end. I hope my takes weren't too spicy for y'all, but in case you do think I'm an idiot, feel free to let me know down in the comments. I definitely want to know who your favorite Bond is and which film is your favorite. Also, if you've seen No Time to Die, let me know what your thoughts are on it and whether or not I should check that out. I'll peep at the comments here and there, so I'll see y'all around.